We lived in Leeds, near Leeds.
I mean, we were both brought up in Yorkshire, but Gabrielle was further north, in what is now Cleveland or something.
Or something, yeah. It used to be North Yorkshire.
But we met, you know, our professional lives were pretty much in Leeds. We were being paid lots of money, which we didn't really want or need.
But we had no time.
But we had no time. So we'd had this original plan. And so we sort of looked at things and said, well, you know, we can live that lifestyle which everybody regards as being hugely successful, and we dabbled in it in the 80s. You know, we did just the London and all the rest of it, and Marbella and all that. But
Northern yuppies.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it just wasn't for us, and so we were sort of sitting there saying, why are we having to work 70, 80 hours for money we don't really want or need,
and pay everybody else to do all the things we'd like to do? Look after our garden, look after our house.
And I got up one morning and I looked out of the window and I looked at the cars that we'd got outside, and I sort of felt ashamed at how much money we had invested in motor cars. We sort of said, right, it's time. So we sat down and said, okay, to live simply, what do we actually need? And we worked out that on the back of a piece of paper and said, yeah, we that will be the challenge, and that's what we'll do. So,
and it was a bit of a shock at how little we actually needed.
Yeah. How long ago was this now?
26 years.
Okay.
And I mean, we'd had an original plan that we didn't want to work forever, and so what we worked out how we could actually effectively live on what I earned and save everything Gabrielle earned. So, you know, we don't eat out, we don't drink, you know, we're not socialites and never have been. So our costs of living are pretty minimal. And so doing it that way, we got to that point where we said, yeah, okay, now we're going to jump off. And we looked up to Scotland and looked there and had a look in France, and then just happened upon here. And as Gabrielle said, we did a week and got back and put the house on the market, and then spent a really difficult year trying to sell the house because we were so desperate to come here, and we'd got our eye on where we now live. So that was really frustrating, but nevertheless, we carried on. And in the end, we just sort of said, okay, we're going to move over there, lock, stock and barrel, as soon as the house is sold, and then that's the next part of our journey.
I mean, looking back, you think, that is the most stupid thing to do. But it just felt right, and we just sold everything, packed in, working, and gave it a go. I mean, when we arrived, we had a pony and 3 dogs, and the pony came on the cargo boat, dangling from the end of the crane in his horse box, and I thought, oh my goodness, you know, he's had weeks to get here because he had to have rests on the way. He'll be in a dreadful state. And I opened the horse box, and there he was, just munching hay and sort of, oh hello, seeing you again, am I?
So Ian took him to a field at the back of the airport. He sauntered out, broke wind, and started eating. And that was it, you know. And Gabrielle had said, when I'd said, are we going to take the pony with us? She said, oh yeah, but he won't live that much longer. Wrong. 14 years later. Wow. But again, you know, it was really weird because we used to keep him on the common next to our house a lot of the time, and he became a celebrity. And people would, you know, elderly people particularly would come out specifically in the afternoon to feed him some carrots. And he, I mean, one woman used to buy the really expensive carrots with the tops on, and she used to prepare them all and cut them up into pieces, put them into a Tupperware box, and then she used to come every afternoon and feed him and sing to him.
Yeah, and she was scared of horses till she met him. And he featured on calendars.
Yeah, and he had, I mean, nowadays he would have his own Facebook page, wouldn't he?
Of course,
Twitter account.
He
and
could
all
be
the
an
rest
influencer.
But again, you know, people sort of recognise that sort of calmness and connected to it. And so, yeah, I mean, he had an incredible fan club of people who would come every day. And again, you know, it's providing people with access to that sort of connection. I think that's really, really important, and that's what we can do here.
I mean, when we came, our friends were saying to us, "You won't last 6 months. What are you going to do?" And they said, "Oh, you'll be back. You'll be back in 6 months." And they still, you know, after 26 years, they said, "What do you do?" I said, "I don't know."
And it's hard to
but I never have enough time. We didn't think about how long we'd be here or whatever. Yeah. This was let's just go and try this.
I mean,
And it just suits us unbelievably.
and it just all sort of fell into place. I part exchanged my new Porsche 928 for a 2CV.
With a private number
With a
plate and a
private number,
mobile
yeah.
phone.
I transferred
Which
the
you know, a
private
car
number plate.
phone at that time.
Which really
Which
was sort
caused a lot of amusement.
and yeah, because it's sort of in our hearts always how we wanted to live, and we just got sort of caught up in that whole idea of more is better, and success is represented by what you've got.
Yes.
And we're pretty simple souls,
Yeah,
really.
we are.
We're at our happiest where we're backpacking and in adversity, and where it's just very basic. We're happiest there, really, in a
Yeah.
perverse way.
And we're happy living as frugally as we can, because
Yeah.
that's again, it's sort of, it means something to actually be able to live sustainably without any of the paraphernalia that people tell you actually need to be happy. I mean, we've always said that we have been unbelievably blessed
Yeah.
to have independence,
Yes.
so that we don't have to play other people's games, and we can choose the life that works for us and the life we want to lead, and there's no conditioning around that, and there's no people telling us you should be doing this, you should be doing that. So again, that environment here, which is, as Gabrielle says, it's very old-fashioned. It represents the qualities that we think are important to live. I think we looked seriously at New Zealand, didn't we?
That was before we found Alderney.
Yes,
we did.
yes.
Yeah. And then that just went out of the window when we'd been
Really?
here.
You can probably find this in other places, but I'm not sure that you're ever going to find everything together in one place, in such a small place, which again is significant. Everything here is within 3.5 miles and 1.5 miles.
We've got libraries, doctors, dentists,
Banks, shops, post offices.
vets.
Yeah, we've got
There you
80-odd-year-old
go.
people
Yes.
going to keep fit. I mean, how good's that? We've got men doing Pilates. I mean, it's the stuff you can do here is just unbelievable. If you wanted to do some of the stuff you can do here and walk to, you'd need to drive in your car for half an hour in the UK if you wanted to go to the gym. And when you talk to people who live in London who say, we go to the gym after work, and then you see them here running around the island, how different is that?
Yeah.
Oh, the island is the gym, really.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a green gym. You can do whatever you want here.
We're halfway up to Everest Base Camp,
Yes.
having dinner in a very small place where we were staying, where everybody was sitting on top of each other, and the people that were sitting next to us because it's brilliant, because people ask you where you come from, and we've got a real pride in telling them where we come from, and it always promotes conversation. How
Yeah,
on
we
earth-
always end up talking
Yeah.
about
How on
Alderney.
earth do you live in a community of 2,000 people on a piece of granite in the middle of the English Channel? That small. And that sort of promotes then an engagement. But this guy said, "Gee, that's really weird, because we're going to stay at Fort Clonk in September."
Yeah.
And you just go, wow. And it's that, again, it's that sort of projecting the island to a wider world. And it always promotes, everywhere we go, as soon as we say where we come from and tell them the size of the island, that's it then, they're captivated and they want to know all about it.
And then they go and look it up, because now you
Yeah,
can look up
yes.
everything on the internet and go, wow. Yes.
You just have to don't make the mistake as we did of when people say, "Oh, we'd love to come and stay with you." You say, "Oh yeah, okay, that'd be fine," and then it turned into a nightmare. I have to say,
Yeah, we're a bit because we love Alderney so much. We're probably too enthusiastic in telling people that they should come and visit. They think we mean with us.
I mean, I do think that there is a sort of sense, a spiritual sense, with a small s, to living here. I think there is an essence here of people actually getting far better what actually life is about.
It's the joy of the mundane.
Yeah, and what living means, as
Yeah.
opposed to existing. Again, some people, you hear people complaining that they haven't got a certain thing. Well, just how it is. get something else. Not hard. But again, that's all that
Well,
mindset thing.
Yes,
Is that part of it as well, the adaptability?
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, you've got to be flexible.
So it's sort of almost a living meditation, and you don't actually have to sit with your eyes closed and find that space, because you can access that space by just living here.
Yeah.
It's a different sense of the air almost.
Yeah,
Here.
yeah.
You know, when you get off the plane and you breathe in the air in Alderney, it's different.
Yes.
It's different to Guernsey. It's different to anywhere. Here's got such a rich community.
Yes.
So it's not only the island physically; it's the people. Such a mix of people.
And a very good teaching on acceptance.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there are things that happen here and we can fight them till the cows come home, but we ain't going to change them. So it's actually accepting the limitations of living in a small community and actually championing those things that we can do, but also accepting that there are things which are going to be beyond our ability to influence. And that, you know, teaches you a very important lesson, I think. And I think, you know, I talk to people who don't get that, who live here. But people who do and say, well, yeah, you know, it's the weather. What can we do? You know, and you get stuck in fog for 2 days in Southampton. What can you do? You know, you can fight it all you like, but you're not going to change it. And people here go, okay, so
Just how it is.
Just how it is.
Yes.
Yeah. And living here is a challenge because you're on an island and you cycle past and you go, oh, the boat hasn't come in today. No food. My mother, who loved it here because she could actually walk everywhere, not look over her shoulder, could sleep with the windows open, she said it was very claustrophobic because to her the horizon was a limit. Whereas to me it's
Open space.
the other way. Yeah. And so for her it would be hard to live here. My sister, who likes shopping, it would be hard for her to live here.
I'm delighted to say.
And so in some respects, it's a man-made hardness that some people find they can't live with. They can't cope with it. It is hard, I think, for families that are trying to hold down a few jobs because it's quite expensive to live here. I think it's hard for a few people for a period of time. But hopefully they get enough out of the rest of Alderney that they still think it's worthwhile and they stay.
I mean, I think, yeah, in the end, I think it's a state of mind, Alderney. And you either get that or you don't. And, you know, because you've been here a long time like us, but you meet people and you can think, it's not going to work for them. You know, you just know that they're just not going to get it. And yet other people, you look at them and you think, well, do you know what, you could have lived here all your life.
Yeah.